And Tessian is like, you know, you could have always sent someone else to come retrieve this. You didn't have to come out here yourself. Not that I don't appreciate it, but is everything okay?
And she kind of sighs, and she says, "Well, you're right. This does seem like a bit of an errand, but it was a favor to Gothak. He didn't want to be seen. He kind of casts a more imposing shadow than I do, to the point where people might recognize him even if they couldn't see him entirely, you know? But for me, I mean, I do have some small stake in this now, you know? If things were traced back to me, there could be consequences. So far, it doesn't seem like anybody's put those pieces together, and I don't know that they have much reason to, but still, kind of wanted to see this through to its conclusion, or at least as far as it concerned our city."
And Tessian's like, well, that's quite noble of you, and if it comes to it, make sure you pin as much of it on me as you can. I don't want this blowing back on all of you for our stupidity in this.
Well, I don't know if I could do that, but I suppose given the alternative, it's a nice option to have. We'll certainly try to avoid invoking it as much as we can.
And I guess at this point, Tessian will kind of nudge Grail to try to wake her up.
She's dead.
She passed in her sleep.
Yeah.
Rest in pieces.
a restful but nice way to go. Grail, you feel a somewhat bony elbow dig gently into your side. It's not hard or anything, but...
Okay. What is it? Everything all right?
And Tessian is like, well, Mina's here to collect the carriage. I think we should set up camp for the evening before we continue on.
I kind of like look over and see Mina riding next to us, and I'm a little surprised to see her. And I just kind of say, "Howdy," and then, yeah, I guess we can stop here. Any place as good as any.
Yep. Tessian will kind of pull off to the side. You know, he'll pull the car over.
Okay. Yeah, it tumbles.
Turn this carriage around.
Yeah, you're able to get, a decent ways off the road to make sure you're out of the way for anybody else who might be traveling at night, though you find that to be unlikely. But hey, it's nice to be considerate. And it's not too hard to set up camp at this point. It's fairly hasty. You can do a quick campfire if you'd like to, or if not, that's fine as well. But, you're able to, in the back of the wagon, the carriage, there are a handful of bedrolls and things that will do to make for a night's rest that won't be just sleeping on the ground or whatever. And I guess...
Tessian wakes everybody up, and then, I guess we'll set up camp.
Yeah, as I say, if anything, the wagon stopping probably is enough to exceed anybody's passive perception, unless you think you're just out for the night, like dead tired out. But yeah, the wagon comes to a stop, and after kind of being confused and disoriented for a moment, you realize that that's what's happened, and Tessian kind of explains to the rest of you that you're going to set up camp. And so I'm assuming you do so.
Yeah, I'll help with the campfire. A small one, not huge.
Not like the one on the side of the building that you just did.
Yeah, no.
Wow, I think we have a pyro on our hands, everyone.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
So, quick campfire, bedrolls for a decent makeshift situation. You guys are able to at least finally get a decent night's rest in a non-moving situation. So, a little bit easier to fall asleep than it was before. Is anybody going to take watch?
Well, before we went to bed, I would probably take watch, because I'm going to go to Tessian when there's a moment and say, because this seems to be our one similarity, can we trust Mina 100%, do you feel?
And Tessian's like, well, I get the feeling she's worried for her own sake, her own business, and I think she's letting her concern maybe get the better of her judgment, but I don't think her heart's in the wrong place. I think she's in this for the betterment of her town, for as good and ill as that may do her.
Well, good to know. Just as well, I'll go ahead and take first watch.
And Tessian is just like, if you want, and I don't know, goes to take a nap and probably doesn't, but is trying to.
Lena, I feel I should remind you, because it hasn't really come up, but you don't necessarily have to sleep.
What? Really?
Yep.
Oh,
So you can.
I mean,
there's really nothing about elves that say they can't sleep like regular people. They just don't need to, per se.
Yeah, no. I mean, I already napped earlier, so I can definitely take watch if need. Is there
Watch
like
with
something?
me.
Now,
Yeah.
you do have to get like a period of rest. I believe it's 4 hours, and you're sort of like in a trance instead. So it's not like it's not like you could just be like, I'm going to be awake for 6 days in a row, because you will still get exhausted like other people do.
Yeah.
But
okay.
as far as like keeping watch in situations like this, you do have some more options at your disposal that the other characters do not. And
you can't be put to sleep, by the way. Like, in theory, elves don't sleep. Like if someone if Grail casts sleep on you, you're not a valid target.
Yeah, you're immune to magical sleep effects.
That's really cool. I'm making a note of that.
Is
when
it
I
cold
actually
outside?
remember.
Chilly even? Or is it warm?
It is. There is a bit of a chill, especially out here in the middle of nowhere, with the mountains sort of off in the distance to your right, which is, I guess, more northeastern. Maybe like lower 50s, mid 50s. It's not like freezing, but it is a little chillier than you might like.
We don't have coffee, do we? Like that we can heat up water and.
I don't know. Did we what did we bring in terms of provisions?
There's probably some coffee in the back of the
Sweet.
carriage. Sure.
I would make us some coffee and hand you. I'm assuming we're kind of like fast forwarding to this part unless somebody has.
Fine by me.
Okay.
Sure.
You guys good. Karash, you're good. Sleepy. Snack sleep time. So I like hand it to you and I take a seat and I just say, so you've had some more time to think. What's it looking like for tomorrow?
I don't know. It's complicated. I understand that you want to help your friend, and I know for a fact that if anything happened to my family, I would try my best to go back straight away as soon as I could. But given the circumstances, I think if we do go, and if I go with you, we would need to be careful.
Oh, of course. That goes without saying. I don't let Tessian give you the wrong idea. It's not my intention to walk into the jail and kick the door down unless such an opportunity presents itself. The plan is to take it slowly, be careful, and after all, I being the vigilante, you want to be a symbol, you want to be theatrical, you want to make a difference, but at the end of the day, I have your all well-being to consider, and I certainly Selenar's as well, so your safety takes precedence over my own theatricality, and I hope that you know that.
Thank you. That's reassuring. After everything that's happened recently, I think as long as we practice caution, we should be okay.
So much talk of caution. Lena, dear girl, you burned down a guardhouse. I think you're more capable than you realize of not always playing it by the book.
I am definitely surprised by this. And I'm kind of flustered. I suppose you're right, but I'd like to think that... and then I just get so flustered I can't even continue.
You did well today.
Thank you. And then, yep.
And then I'm good to just sip on my coffee after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mina had actually offered to take second watch if nobody else wanted to volunteer. That's up to you guys, though.
How long did I sleep? It was barely an hour, I think you said, right? That we've been.
No, it was like 2 or 3.
But that's not. How does it work? So I'm not rested yet, right?
Oh, no.
Damn. Yeah, I'd probably sleep.
It doesn't have to be like a hard and fast 8 hours. There's certainly some discretion to it, but 2 ain't gonna cut it.
Have I slept 4 hours yet? Probably not.
You were getting close
Oh,
to where you're
okay.
probably not far off. You could always stay up longer than Isaac, seeing as, again, like, you don't have to sleep per se.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try to stay up with Mina a little bit too, and then eventually fall asleep again at some point.
If
Okay.
you do, as I'm like getting up, I like put my hand on your shoulder and I whisper like, keep an eye on her just in case. I think she's good, but it's best practice to be cautious.
And I nod.
And I pat you, and then I go to bed.
Yep.
Okay. First shift seems to pass without incident. And in the second one, we'll just do 2 for this night, especially because we can kind of break it in half with her ability. Mina kind of joins you by the campfire, and she looks a bit tired, a little bit more than you've seen from her. But she says, been a while since I've been out here in the elements like this. You know, running a place of my own has its advantages, like you're never short of a bed.
Yes. Sleeping on the ground can't be too comfortable for you, I imagine.
Well, for one night, it will not be a problem. Say, I have to ask you something. Are you worried at all about what happened? I mean, I talked with Tessian a bit while the rest of your group was elsewhere, and it doesn't sound like things went poorly, but it also doesn't sound like things went as well as they could have.
Yes, I'll admit it's a little concerning that we weren't exactly able to do what we set out to do and to assist your city, and for that I apologize. Not being able to fix it was unfortunate. I suppose I'm concerned about what this could mean for us in the long run, if we'll be successful. So, I suppose I am, yes.
Well, you needn't apologize on our behalf. I mean, we were certainly hoping you would succeed, but even so, an attempt to change the status quo is still better than what we've been dealing with. My only worry is that perhaps there will be blowback if Whitwer suspects the town itself was involved somehow. I don't think he will, but, you know, with him, it's never really a guarantee. Even so, I think the attempt was worth it. I understand what you mean, though. I think it's sort of as I told the group when we were speaking at the Gilded Ale House, but your help is appreciated, but it's by no means required. And if this has put a strain on your group for some reason, or it's going to cause further difficulties ahead, I mean, in that sense, I almost apologize, not for myself, but just for the town not being able to do more about it on its own. But I suppose there's really no winning either way, huh?
Yes, I suppose in that way there's really not. Where I come from, we're experiencing not quite the same situation, but something similar with our respective ruler has started behaving strangely, and it's having interesting effects on everyone. So I understand the need to want to change everything and restore what was good.
She nods. If you don't mind my asking, where are you from?
I'm from the forested region, the Sowenwood.
And she seems kind of taken aback by that, and she says, wow, really?
Yes.
I don't see many people on our side of the woods from your side of the woods, but it's also, I guess, disheartening a bit to hear that someplace that far away is dealing with the same problems we are. I had hoped it was more localized, but I guess there is a certain sick kind of solidarity in knowing that there are others who are going through the same experience.
Yes, that's something I've had a hard time coming to terms with ever since I left, but now I see more and more that it's everywhere, really. The greed and the power struggles. It's hard to deal with, knowing that it seems to be much bigger than we are. It's I'm trying to think of the word. Shoot, there it goes. I lost it. It's really found a way to seed itself into everyone.
Well, I know it's especially bad on this part of the countryside. I have family in Still Valley, and they say that the experience there is nothing like what we've seen, but they also have the luxury of being much closer to the capital, and I don't know, it feels like we just don't receive that much attention out here, but in any case, I once again thank you guys for what you did, even though it did not work out. Any attempt to free the city, I think, was a worthwhile one, and I do appreciate it, and I hope that you don't think less of us because of it.
Of course not.
And there's kind of like a lapse of silence, and eventually, Mina, seeing as you, even when you go back into this trance that the elves do, can still be sort of aware of your surroundings, she eventually goes back to her bed as well, her makeshift bed. Go ahead and make a perception check. Just you.
11.
11.
Not very good.
As you sort of zone out, you still have a lot on your mind about both what happened yesterday and the day before, the events that you wrote in your letter that you sent yesterday morning. We didn't really address that on camera, but it happened. Shut up. Your surroundings seem to be relatively quiet. That no other people pass, whether it's on horseback or cart or on foot. Like there's no other activity on this road in the evening into the dawn. And as the sun rises the next morning, everyone comes to consciousness, still feeling a little bit tired. There was some restfulness overnight, but you still have your full complement of stuff back, spells, hit points, hit dice. It doesn't like penalize you, but you do feel like just a smidge groggy in the morning because for just about everybody, sleep was a little bit harder to come by than normally. But you guys come to consciousness, can pack up, I guess, real quick if you have nothing else you want to do in the morning.
Eat.
I mean, yeah.
Sure, breakfast, of course, yes.
God, if our D&D campaign turns into like freaking Breaking Bad or something, where it's just breakfast all the time, I'm gonna be pretty upset.
What if,
If our game turns into Breaking Bad all the time, I'll take all the awards right now. That's fine.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't mind like 16 million people watching a season finale.
Yeah, anti-dibs on the cancer, though. I don't want it.
Oh, you're the main character? You think Tessian's the main character?
I'm just saying someone's got to get cancer. And I don't want it to be me.
I mean, if we shave his head, he could maybe be Walter White. He's the closest of any of us, I think. Just he has the right skin complexion. So you guys can make a quick breakfast. Mina offers to accompany you as far as the city, so she's not just putting you out of the carriage now because you would have a harder time making it. So she offers to continue riding with you. Still about 5 hours or so out, but you'll get there by the better part of like early afternoon.
During breakfast, I offer Grail coffee.
I
There's
take
subtle
it.
subtext here.
Yes. I accept it and very quietly just say thank you.
You're very welcome, Grail.
I'm not going to say anything else.
I'm gonna ask why he didn't offer me coffee.
Yes, of course, Crash. Would you like some?
No, I just wanted to know why he
Then
didn't offer
why?
me.
It's fine. It's fine.
So some slight speed bumps in the morning aside. Make a quick breakfast, some coffee. Enjoy the quiet morning. If nothing else, it's nice that it's quiet in a sense, just because it's a nice change of pace to be out of the city, especially that city, and have a bit of a moment to yourselves, although you're also blatantly aware of the fact that you're a little bit like caught up in the silence of it, and it allows your mind to roam more freely than it might otherwise. But relatively pleasant morning, all things considered, and you hop back in the carriage. Mina hops on her horse and continue to ride northwestern. Same configuration, different.
I'm fine being in the back again.
I think Tessian's fine putting us on at least a route. It gives him some sense of control over this situation. So
I wasn't sure if we were eating horses or not, so you make your choices, people.
If Lena wants to sit up front, in fact, I'll offer her. If y'all want to sit up front with Tessian, that's fine. I can go sit in the back.
Okay, I will thank you for the offer and accept. And I'll just say, yeah, I actually have been meaning to speak with him about something, so this would probably be a good time. Thank you.
I'm glad. You're welcome.
So with Tessie and Len in the front, Grail and Isaac and Karash stashed in the back, and Mina riding alongside, you guys resume your journey. Relatively uneventful still. This road, unlike some of the roads you've been on to this point, this road is, I don't want to say barren, but like the next step up. There's not a lot on it. The dirt's been decently well trod, but not nearly as well traveled as the road between Falstock and Cigar Cove. But it works serviceably enough. It's smooth enough that the carriage is, a pretty nice ride overall. But a couple of hours pass, and there's not much in the way of scenery. You continue to see the mountains to the northeast, but for the most part, other than the fact that eventually Denard starts to kind of come into view, it's a uneventful couple of hours.
Except for Lena talking to me.
Exactly.
Yes. Segue. Okay. Gosh, how am I gonna start this conversation?
Hello.
I don't know how to start it. I'll just say, how are you feeling after everything?
And Tessian is like, well, good's not the word for it. Confident is not the word for it either, but I think we'll find a way through one way or the other. I guess there may not be a correct answer here. We may just be trying to, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure how I feel.
I nod and I say I understand completely. I feel the same way.
Tessian sort of lets the silence hang there for a second if you don't speak up. So, what's your take on all this? If all of this blows back on you and your extended family, are you prepared to risk that sort of thing?
I don't know that I am. Honestly, I can't imagine having to deal with something like that. And the thought of my family having to deal with something like that, even after everything that's happened, I wouldn't want that for them. It would be unfair to them. And it would certainly make this journey feel less meaningful if I got in trouble on my quest to, gain self-identity and be independent and then be caught in chaos. It's not ideal.
Well, I'll tell you what then. If we say we forgot all these people in the back of the carriage here, where would you want to go, Lena?
That's a good question. You know about the letter from my grandmother, yes?
And he nods.
I sent a response yesterday morning, and in addition, I haven't had a chance to tell you about this yet, but when I went to the temple of, oh god, what was his name? Palor?
Yep.
Okay, cool. When I went to the temple of Palor the other day with Karash, I had a vision of something. It was quite, it's hard to explain. I wrote it down and sent the details to my grandmother. I can describe it to you as well. At the end of the vision was a silver dragon? Yes? Wasn't a specific name? I don't remember.
It was not a specific name, no.
Okay, just a silver dragon. Got it. There was a silver dragon at the end of the vision, and at some point I would like to know what that means, and if, my grandmother might know, so maybe she'll be able to respond through this letter, but if I would need to go back to the Sowenwood and discuss it with her, I would like doing that at some point.
Chris, does Tessin have any idea who a platinum dragon might be?
You have.
I like this is like I have a guess, but like, does Tessian have a guess? Is his religious knowledge strong enough to maybe know that, or?
I would say, if only because of your girlfriend, make a religion check.
That is a fair point.
Just as long as we're clear that dragons are a religious experience.
Yes, the early morning nip rub.
I rolled a 5, so clearly Tessian does not pull this factoid.
No, there's nothing specific that comes to your mind, and it's possible that someone you know may have spoken of the subject in the past, but nothing about that comes to your mind at this particular moment.
Tessian says as much, actually. He's like, a dragon. Damn. You know, I do really wish Theo was here. She'd certainly know about this. That's her expertise and all. It just... the Sowen, would you say? Well, it's a bit of a backwards travel, but, you know, we could always go there if you want. I mean, I want to help these people, I do, but I can't help but feeling they're just walking themselves right into a noose. They're impulsive. They're not thinking this through. I made a promise to you, and I can't let you fall into that same, well, death.
Right. I realize it'd be out of the way to go back, and now might not be such a good time. What about visiting with Thea? Where is she again?
God, I don't think Tessian knows. Tessian's like, I'm not entirely sure, actually. She tends to wander a bit. Research, study abroad. We don't, well, we keep in touch as much as we can, but she's always been one of those people to, how do you say, wander to... Her curiosity often gets the better of her. A good way, I would say. It's one of her best qualities. She's not impulsive. She's honestly far more level-headed than I am. She just has a tendency to know what she wants and get distracted in getting there. You could tell he's rather fond of her, but he's trying to talk her up while also acknowledging that she's not perfect.
I notice, and I think it's cute. So I suppose we wouldn't be able to find her very easily then. In that case, I'll just wait for my grandmother's letter and see if she can give me any insight on what it means.
And Tessie, well, is your grandmother going to know to send the letter? How did she know where you were in the first place?
And I, start thinking, and I'm like, you're right, actually. How did she know where we were? I haven't communicated with her once since we started traveling. That's very odd. And then I just really start thinking about it.
Tessian's a little concerned by that, but he'll let the subject drop.
Lena, you can make a history check.
Okay. Cool. $11.
It occurs to you that there are certainly at least a few people in the Sowenwood who have magical capabilities, especially since almost everybody there is druidic in nature, that would be possible for them to at least have an idea where you were. Now, whether that's your grandmother or somebody else entirely, or, you know, who might be using that information, you're not sure. But it does dawn on you that it's possible that somebody there has had a way to keep track of you since you left.
Okay, I think I'll bring that up, because that was a concerning moment for both of us, so I should probably try to alleviate the situation a little bit. And I'll say, well, many of the... What is the word I'm trying to think of? There are many people in the Sowenwood who who have magical abilities, and it could be possible that they could have found a way to keep track of me. Maybe not my grandmother directly, but maybe my father has some guards keeping track. I don't know.
Tessian's like, well, perhaps it would be in your best interest then to head into town. It's possible there's already a message waiting for you.
That's a good point. As long as that's okay with you, though.
And Tessian's like, Lena, I want to support you. If this is something you want to do, and this isn't, I don't think this is going to get you killed. It's all this business with this conspiracy and skulking about. This should be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
So, ride continues to be relatively boring overall. It's not a very exciting stretch. I'm sorry to everybody who wanted theatrics. Anybody else do anything on the journey?
I'm probably avoiding conversation and plucking on my banjo.
Okay.
I have cards.
Do you want to deal me in, Karash?
Yes.
Aw.
But he had to think about it for a minute. So between idle conversation from some, and Mina kind of chimes in occasionally. She's trying to kind of pick her battle. She doesn't want to step on anybody's toes, but she chimes in a bit. Grail seems to be a little bit more distant. You guys play cards for a bit and talk for a bit. How close to the city do you want to get?
A non-suspicious amount?
I don't care. We're going, like, from where I'm standing, it was Grail and I. No one saw us. We're going into a city. I mean, I'll go in. If it was up to me, I guess. Staying far away doesn't matter to me.
Well, also it's like, if we just stop outside of it, isn't that more suspicious than going in? I don't know.
I think for the sake of Mina and, like, not making this look awkward on her part, I think Tessian would just ride into town so that we can, like, do a full exchange of carts and stuff like that. I think in his head, he's thinking, okay, maybe this is our excuse why we headed here. We just headed to one of the nearest towns so that he could give this back to her, essentially. So that's, in his mind, that's why he's like, okay, so he's gonna ride into town unless someone stops him, and we'll just find like the inn or tavern or someplace good to stop and give it back to her.
Okay. As you guys get to where the city, it looms large. It's obviously been getting bigger and bigger on the horizon as you've gone throughout the day's journey. But when you get within about 15 minutes away or so, I need everybody to make a perception check.
It's on fire.
You see the flames. You see Selenar aflame.
Jesus.
We're fucking terrible.
Hold on, I need to do it again. 'Cause...
At least someone got it good.
I got an 18.
Wow.
It only took 20 years to send.
Thank God for Lena.
It's just Lena. All of us are below.
It's 18
10.
and then 10 and lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with a lot of thoughts in your mind, everybody is a little bit distracted, and the road ahead does seem relatively safe. But Lena, you notice that even though there aren't that many trees around this area, you see what appears to be a crackling of bluish arcane energy in a tree that is just off a train.
A phantom
Oh
train.
my God! Suplex it. A tree that's just a little ways off the road starts to crackle and split with this blue-hued arcane energy.
Okay, I'm immediately gonna tap, but this is not tapping. So I'm gonna aggressively hit your shoulder, not like forcefully, Tessian, but just like to get your attention. And then I'm gonna say that the tree there's some kind of arcane energy in it.
Does Tessian see this? And it's okay to hit Tessian when things are possibly exploding. That's For the record, you are welcome to be like, yo.
I like the idea of her being like, it's something really dire, but she's too scared to really unload on you. So it's like,
Oh, 1 second, Lena. I'm doing something important.
you do see it, Tessian, but the two of you only really have time to look over as you watch as the tree almost seems to split. And inside you see what appears to be almost like this swirling bluish black energy, and out of it steps a woman. Whitwer M. Effin Thorogood, back from the dead.
Damn.
This seems normal.
It is a wood elf.
Okay.
She has grayish, a little silver, but mostly gray, long hair that's braided and goes down past her back. She is hunched over, has a staff that she seems to be leaning on for support. Wrinkled, real wrinkled, especially in the facial area. Determined looking, but still kind of tired, light blue eyes. And she looks over in the direction of the wagon as she steps out, and this tree seems to close behind her. And she says, "Ah, my Fable dear, it does my heart good to see you." And she looks right at Lena as she does so.
And I'm going to jump off the wagon immediately and go run over. I'm assuming this is my grandmother. Yes.
It does appear to be your grandma,
Okay,
Netta, yes.
That's good. Just to make sure. And I said, "Grandmother, I'm so glad to see you. What are you doing here?" And I go and give her a nice, big, happy hug.
And she returns your warm embrace, and as she collects herself to say what's on her mind, we're going to leave off there for this session.
Ah!
So just on the outskirts of Denard, with whatever's going on in the city still ahead, we also have a mysterious guest that nobody really recognizes except for Lena, but Lena seems to be welcoming with open arms. So we'll find out what all of that means and more next time on the Anachroschism.
I shoot her immediately.